While many of us are out here sowing division, Republicans against Democrats, black against white, men against women, spending money on credit like there's no tomorrow, we're totally ignoring the real enemy, actually, which is our government. We're ignoring the real enemy, which is our government. And they like it that way because as long as we're fighting with each other, we do not pay attention to what they're doing. And most of the media isn't even reporting what they're doing. Robert F. Kennedy is one of the only people, whether you vote for him or not, let's listen to what he has to say there on the Jimmy Dore show. And I've said from the beginning, this war in Russia-Ukraine thing is a scam. Russia has no interest in taking over Europe. None. And it's been a couple years. They have not tried to take over Europe. It was never about that. Russia, I'm from Germany, West Germany at the time. Russia actually left Germany. That's right. The wall came down, remember? And who's all over the frickin' world with their military bases and starting wars? It's not Russia. It's not Germany. It's the United States of America. And why do they do it? Because we have three main industries running this whole country. Wall Street, Big Pharma, the military-industrial complex. Wall Street making financial products that almost took down the economy in 2008. Big Pharma that is just making drugs. They don't care about your health. They make false studies and all this and that is a separate video. Let's talk about the military-industrial complex. And a lot of Americans have been snowed over and think their government is a god because they pledged allegiance to the flag when they were kids. And they're brainwashed. A lot of you guys are brainwashed. Wake up. Think about it. Did Russia really want to take over Europe? Why are they still only in that one part of Ukraine? Because they are weak? Wake up. It's all a money laundering scheme. War is a money laundering scheme. The U.S. goes in and throws over dictators. I'm not saying the U.S. is the only bad guy. I mean, empires throughout the world have taken over other empires. I'm from Germany, where there was a Hitler. Okay? So when people get too much power and they get greedy, they stop caring about other people. And it's all about how we can make more money. And they don't care who's dying in the process. Okay, why did Russia invade NATO? Russia tried for years to settle this peacefully. Kissinger promised Russia back in the 90s, when the wall came down, I think I have my facts just about right, NATO will never expand east of Germany, ever. And over the years, country by country, they have gone right on Russia's border. And Russia always said, we do not want NATO and the US military bases and NATO and on our borders. How would you guys like it? And I'm mad. Some people are just asleep. How would we like it if Russia came over here to Mexico or Canada and started building up bases? That's the same thing. But people are like, oh, we're Americans, we're the good guys. No, we're not. We're the bad guys. We cause havoc, and it's not we the people, it's our government, but we're allowing it because we're too busy not paying attention. Thank God for YouTube and independent journalists, if this can come out. Okay, so the US didn't care. How was Ukraine ever going to win against Russia? It was pointless. But anyway, Russia had said, you cannot bring NATO into Ukraine. The US didn't care. Why not? Because the big military contractors constantly need more war. When we pulled, I say we, when the US pulled out of Afghanistan, my first thought was, yay, this is great, we're ending a war. And immediately, what's the next war they're going to start? Because they need wars. The US needs constantly to add more countries to its war list so that these big military contractors have profits. It's profits. Okay, these military contractors have a lot of lobbyists and they're very smart. They have established businesses in every state so that every senator and congressman, everybody in Congress, I hope I'm using the right terms, has an interest in their constituents benefiting from these businesses. Boeing, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, General Dynamics, I think I named them all. And by these companies, the advantage of having countries in NATO, the reason that the US wants countries in NATO is because then they have to buy weapons made to NATO specifications, which is, US is all ready for that. They've been doing it for a long time. Okay, so let's listen to that clip, repeating what I just said, pretty much.
Reasons it's a shame, his policy on Israel, but here, let's watch this.
This is a war that should have never happened. It's a war the Russians tried repeatedly to settle on terms that were very, very beneficial to Ukraine and us. The major thing they wanted was for us to keep NATO out of the Ukraine. The big military contractors want to add new countries to NATO all the time. Why? Because then that country has to conform its military purchases to NATO weapon specifications, which means certain companies, Northrop Grumman, Raytheon, General Dynamics, Boeing, and Lockheed, get a trapped market.
Okay, so for now, these companies are benefiting from all the weapons that they're making that the U.S. is sending to Ukraine. It's over 100 billion. I do not know how many billions. So they're benefiting from all the weapons that were sent over. But the big benefits to the U.S. will come after the war in 3 areas. One, well, they're going to keep Ukraine in poverty. That's what Kennedy says. 2 is they're going to impose loan conditions, which means that all the Ukraine assets will be up for sale, including the farmland. And Ukraine has the most fertile farmland in Europe. And apparently 30% of it has already been sold off to U.S. companies. And number 3, to rebuild Ukraine. So let's hear Kennedy summing this up, and then I'll be back on the other side.
Big expenses are going to come after the war, when we have to rebuild all the things that we destroyed. Mitch McConnell was asked, can we really afford to spend $113 billion to Ukraine? He said, don't worry. It's not really going to Ukraine.
It's going to American defense manufacturers.
So he just admitted it's a money laundering scheme. And who do you think owns every one of those companies? Yeah, BlackRock. So Tim Scott, during the Republican debate, said, don't worry, it's not a gift to Ukraine, it's a loan. So raise your hand if you think that that loan's ever getting paid back. Yeah, of course it's not. So why do they call it a loan? Because if they call it a loan, they can impose loan conditions. And what are the loan conditions that we impose on? Number 1, an extreme austerity program, so that if you're poor in Ukraine, you're going to be poor forever. Number 2, most important, Ukraine has to put all of its government-owned assets up for sale to multinational corporations, including all of its agricultural land, the biggest single asset in Europe. In Ukraine, there's been 1,000 years of war fought over that land. It's the richest farmland in the world. It's the breadbasket of Europe. 500,000 kids almost, Ukrainians have died to keep that land as part of Ukraine. They almost certainly didn't know about this loan condition. They've already sold 30% of it. The buyers were DuPont, Cargill, and Monsanto. Who do you think owns all of those companies? Yeah, BlackRock. And then in December, President Biden gave out the contract to rebuild Ukraine. And who do you think got that contract?
BlackRock.
BlackRock. So they're doing this right in front of us. They don't even care that we know anymore, because they know that they can get away with it. And how do they know that? Because they have a strategy. And that strategy is an old strategy, which is they keep us at war with each other. They keep us hating on each other. They keep the Republicans and Democrats fighting each other, black against white, and all these divisions that they saw.
So that's the game that's being played.
The only thing that we can really do is vote for Kennedy or someone else, a different party, a third party, because who we have in power now is not changing anything at all. And another thing we have to do is stop fighting with each other because it's distracting us. We have to unite with some love and connection if we want to save this country from what these big corporate interests are trying to do, because they don't care about the country. They just care about themselves. And it's very sad to me that this country, which is so beautiful and has so many intelligent people and was built on this pioneering, happy spirit, even though they killed the Indians, maybe I'm just in like some kind of a bubble here, that the major industries that we have, Big Pharma, Wall Street, the military industrial complex, are just sowing destruction. And so many people are suffering. And I think because so many people are suffering, they're just turning against each other because we feel powerless to do anything, but we're not powerless. We do have the right to vote, and we do have the ability to vote. But do you know how difficult they make it to get any third-party candidate on the ballot? They don't want anybody else on the ballot. And Republicans and Democrats are the same. Regardless of which one of them is in office, these three industries rule the world. They both want war. They both want Big Pharma to have their way and create more and more disease, allow disease. And they all promote Wall Street. Both of them, both parties. I mean, one might be, it used to be that the Democrats were for the people and the poor people. Even that's gone away. We need some new ideas. We need some fresh ideas. So if you want to get mad at anyone, get mad at the government, get mad at being bamboozled, get mad at CNN and all these MSNBC and all these media that have been lying to us. Why are they lying to us? Because most of the advertisers are Big Pharma. That's the nice thing about YouTube. When you have content creators like me or many other people, we don't have any sponsors or ads. But if Big Pharma was paying for my videos, I wouldn't be able to say all this either. Be careful who you're financially beholden to. But anyway, I think people should wake up and realize that if we want to have any chance of changing this and changing our karma and the blood on our hands, we have to take some responsibility as citizens and votes for get these Republicans and Democrats out of office. Get a third party in that actually stands for building this country up and speaking some truth. That's what I'm into. Some straight talk, no bullshit truth. So, by the way, Kennedy is the only presidential candidate in decades that has not had Secret Service protection. They're threatened by him. They don't want him. The powers that be don't want him there. So he has to spend $1 million a month on his security. Anyway, thank you for watching my video. Let's start thinking about how we can support each other instead of dividing each other. Because the real enemy is not men or women or Republicans or Democrats. It's the lobbyists and the big corporations and our government, sadly.